everyone, so today is a very special episode because we've got not one but two guests, as you can see, both from a lovely company called Spotler, who are called something else before. That's when we met.
Yeah.
And you'd actually have that alligator or crocodile.
Yes.
I couldn't tell what it was. It was like an inflatable that you gave away at your shows. So we met like years and years ago at a trade show.
Yeah.
And I've attended a few of your events.
You have.
And I've also learned so much from the stuff you guys put out online.
Good.
So it's been really helpful. So who am I joined by? So I'm joined by Jess and also Richard. So Jess is the marketing manager at Spotler, and Richard is the partnership manager at Spotler.
That's right.
And they are both here in our lovely offices. It's not so lovely outside because it's like hitting minus
Freezing.
2 degrees.
But it's a good view.
It's a good view, and the guests have had troubles with the trains. You know, it's not in the remit of this podcast to comment on what's happening with the trains in this country, but it is a big issue. Anyway, that's the level of this podcast that I was going into. So, Rich and Jess, firstly, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
I know that this took a long while to kind of arrange because you're both coming from different parts of the country. Firstly, I want to get straight into it. Richard, what exactly does a partner manager do, and why is it important for SaaS companies to have one?
It's a really good question. So a partner manager is, I would say, vital to a business, especially a SaaS business. Like, the idea is to, of course, have strategic alliances with other businesses that, focus, at the end of the day on gaining additional revenue for your own business. But how you do that is through mutually beneficial, collaborations, whether that is to, focus on something like extending your market reach, or whether that is something like, launching a new product or anything like that. It's about a collaborative approach with other businesses, and that's why it's really important to a company.
So I guess you've got to know your own product like the back of your hand, and also a whole series of products that could integrate with your company really, really well. How do you do that?
I mean, I can speak from the marketing automation era. So for a partner manager for SaaS in general, your products are, really, really important to understand. However, it's actually about understanding who's the best fit for the partnership as well. And in marketing, that's quite easy. It's to do with things like agencies and other sort of, marketing sort of related tech. But at the end of the day, it's about understanding your audience, and that's a partnership, understanding your product and finding that mutual, collaboration.
And moving on to Jess, what are some of the biggest shifts you've seen happen in marketing in the last 8 years, which is around the time that we've known each other?
Yeah, okay.
So,
wow. A lot. So other than the obvious with the different technologies that have come into place, the different legislations that have changed, so the cookies, GDPR, all the new technologies, AI, I think the biggest shift has been in terms of reporting and how marketing actually report on their success and their results. And I think way back when, it always used to be about marketing would generate the leads, pass them over to sales, and that would be it. That was all that marketing was kind of there for. I think now marketing are involved in the sales funnel a lot more, as well as retention, acquisition for customers as well. So I think that's been a big shift. It used to always be about MQLs, generating enough leads, and then we move on. Whereas now it's more about quality and building the relationship and the trust all the way through.
So, I mean, just a quick follow-up from that. What parts of your marketing funnel or sales funnel is keeping you awake at night? And has that changed over the last 8 years?
It is tough out there. Obviously, we are, we're well out of the pandemic now. We're now into a cost of living crisis, a recession. We're seeing budget cuts. And I think marketing is the first place that gets, the cut in terms of budget and things. But I think as long as you've got a good presence, a good offering, services, products, whatever it is, that people can really get on board with and invest in, I think you're in a good position.
Okay, cool. Rich, this is a really broad question, but what is MarTech?
Well, I can make it to an easy answer. MarTech is marketing technology, essentially. It's the tools that you need, the software that you need to be able to achieve some type of marketing goal in a nutshell. That could be anything from email marketing platforms, could be include your CRM, customer data platforms nowadays. It's anything to do with software that is marketing related.
So following up from that, how do you ensure your partners gain as much value from being with Spotler as possible? Because you're sometimes, I guess, you're even competing with other marketing companies, but you're partnering up with them. Maybe they complement different parts of spectrum. You don't, I guess you don't cover for your customers. How do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, how we give them value is that, again, it's going back to it's about understanding what their interests are actually. My goal is to boost revenue, of course, that's for any business, but you do that with understanding what their needs are and what their goals are. And typically, with someone like Spotler, a partner with Spotler, we can actually offer some level of complementary access as well to even help with their own goals. And that's the benefit here. It's not just, hey, can you refer something to me or can you resell that? That's not actually the point of it. It's about, what are you doing? You're looking for perhaps content. You're looking for, getting in front of an audience. You're looking to do whatever. I can help with that. And then hopefully Spotler's at the back of your mind, or at the front of your mind, should I say, when someone says, hey, I'm looking for MarTech. Oh, do you know what? I work with Spotler. So it's actually helping you. And that's how business helps themselves.
So it's like an ecosystem, I guess, where you're kind of, you may not be able to cover everything that a customer requires, but through the help of partnerships and through those integrations that you offer as Spotler. So just, from your side as the marketing person, how do you actually make sure this is communicated well to your partners in a way that it doesn't kind of get too technical? Because, having worked with a lot of SaaS technical people such as Richard, we love him. Because you've got to translate that technical speak into something that...
And I think there can be a lot of conflict of interest as well, because we have got multiple partners that do similar things. So I think we've always got to keep their interests and the loyalty and stuff in their mind. But I think it's a good thing. And I think our customers, they're always looking for content, video, tools and stuff. So it's always good to have a library of people that we can go to offer to our clients.
I mean, as in terms of the way it's presented, partnership marketing is probably very, very different to how you communicate with your customers who've never heard of you. How do you distinguish between the two in terms of messaging?
Yeah, so it's different messaging, because obviously our customers, we want them to get the most out of our product, whereas our partners, we want them to get the most out of our network. So I think it is different.
So essentially, like, one message is trying to get them through the door, and the other one's kind of keep them through, kind of retain them. So because you're constantly adding value. So just following up from that, this could be a question that a lot of our, this is a question a lot of marketing managers and people listening will be thinking about. How do you stay up to date with the latest ways of marketing? Not necessarily for Spotler, but within what's going on with other companies. How do you kind of keep up to date with that? And are there any places that you go for inspiration, or are there any companies that you're looking to? Yeah,
definitely. And I think being a marketing automation provider, our clients and our partners look to us for inspiration, and they think that we like to position ourselves as thought leaders, and we know what we're doing in this realm. So I think we have a team in-house of designers who are fabulous, which I know not a lot of marketing teams have. So we feel very lucky to have that. We also have a lot of specialists within our marketing team as well. And then I'd say just do your market research on LinkedIn, sign up to newsletters from your competitors or from people who you're looking to, sign up to the forums and the groups on LinkedIn, and just really be present in that space.
Okay. In terms of, the same question for you, Richie, now. How do you keep up to date with?
Yeah, I do a few things. So for one thing, at the office, if you have an office anymore, that is, they subscribe to, I can't think what it is now. What do you subscribe to? There's a magazine that is always on each desk, and it comes out each month. And I read that, oddly. Your lunch break, you sort of sit down at your desk, at a desk, in the lunch hall. And there's like marketing magazines around, and they're really, really interesting. So that's how a lot of the ideas I get for topics of conversation is that. But again, it is kind of like podcasts, like signing up to something like this and understanding what other people's thoughts are, to, find who perhaps your favourite thought leader is and follow them and on LinkedIn and stuff, and they'll post stuff and all that, It's just getting out there and listening. But, rather than doing work on the train to work, why don't you listen to your favourite podcast or something like that? And that bite, of information might be really useful for your conversation tomorrow,
So, I mean, I guess delving a bit more deeper into that, I was Googling this morning, and I think there was a report or this map which came out, which had, like MarkTech map. And it was like every year there's no new logos. And it's like, I think the last one I saw was like 11,000 MarkTech companies. How do you determine what's actually relevant? And, what you think, this isn't going to stick around? Because, you've been in the industry for a while. How do you determine what's going to be useful? What's actually something that you should keep an eye out for? Whereas what's something, this is...
For other MarTech, yeah. I think they're all irrelevant apart from Spot, I'm afraid. That is the only one that's relevant, really. So it's quite an easy answer to that.
What a shameless plug.
That's it. So, I'm joking. God, you're right. There's so many MarTech companies and agencies as well. Do that's another statistic related to that. There's like 25,000 agencies on LinkedIn in the UK, it's ridiculous. They're all saying that they do something different. Like MarTech, they all do something different. What's relevant is that they have to have, it's not your features and benefits and things like that. It's not even the product. It's like, what does it fix? What is the problem?
Solution.
And that solution, do you fix that solution, whatever that is? And then you're going to be relevant. And if you don't fix that solution or a solution, you're not unfortunately going to be relevant.
Yeah, that makes sense. And just, similar to that, in terms of there's always the latest and newest thing coming out in marketing almost on a day-to-day basis. How do you determine what's relevant for Spotler and what
to do and what not to do? I think split testing, we always used to say that marketing is like a playground, because there are all these ideas, all these technologies that you can do and all these methods. So I think split testing, if you have the opportunity to do that, that's how you're going to really tell what your audience is interested in. And obviously you're going to have multiple different audiences. You're going to have to split test per audience.
Can I add to that as well?
Yeah.
Personalization is a good one as well in terms of, split testing, but, you could do it on interests, to understand what, and then they will engage in what their interests are, and then you can take note of that.
Yeah.
It's that, as well, it's rather than just sort of the images and the content, it's like, it's all about personalizing it, isn't it? And seeing what their interests are, let them choose, which direction they're going to go down, perhaps with split testing and stuff like that. So.
Has there ever been a moment where you've conducted a split test and it has really challenged your views?
Yeah, more times than one.
Can you tell us?
So I think we either did a spelling mistake or sent one out with no subject line, and it got even more response than the one with the subject line. So we were like, that's strange. Obviously we wouldn't.
Subject line one, wasn't it?
Yeah. Obviously, we wouldn't do it all the time, but it was just interesting to see.
I think.
No, it was a split test on purpose.
Yeah. So you do one with a spelling mistake and one without the subject line to see, what's happened. But I think the subject line happens because in your busy inbox, there's a gap, and you're like,
it stands out a bit more.
You click on the gap, and actually,
this is listeners or watchers. This is interesting.
It's not being recorded, is it? No.
Yeah. Don't give away our secrets.
Secret sauce. No.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Because, I guess, we're all emotional creatures and we have certain likes and tastes or, kind of theories of the world. And it's hard when your ideas get challenged because, you've got to actually look at the data and say, oh, this data is saying something otherwise.
Yeah.
So, I really like that.
Yeah.
It goes against everything that you have learned and you've been taught and stuff. But, yeah, sometimes you just got to go with it, haven't you?
Because an email's to be opened, actually. That's the first goal of an email, to actually be opened. And then hopefully someone takes an action, but it has to be opened.
So, moving on to the next book, because this is an interesting topic we can actually go into more detail in its own right. If someone's watching or listening and they want to get into the world of partnership managing, managing partners, what advice would you give them? Where should they start? Or if someone's at a SaaS company and they're thinking, we should start a partnership
scheme.
Or, how do you go about even doing that?
Yeah, good question. That's exactly what happened. We've had partners for 15 plus years. You mentioned Communicator. Actually, Communicator is part of the group called the Spotler Group. So it wasn't that Communicator turned to Spotler. It was, merged into the Spotler Group. And actually, we've got like 400 partners. It's crazy, but they're not all in the UK. They're actually spread across UK and Europe and stuff like that. And my role was that, although we have partners, how do you start that department, if you like, that actually focuses on that. So I did exactly that. And it's about, first of all, understanding who your potential partners are, your market, if you like, what would actually, enhance what we do, or what would be a synergy. There's lots of different angles you can sort of look at it, what would complement, and then seeing who they are. And actually, again, to help a new partnership manager, it's as much as your manager wants it to be about how much revenue you can make. It's not about that. It's like, how can you help that partner do what they want to do, and that will naturally come back. It's make a deposit before you can make a withdrawal. You can't just go to someone and say, "Suds, can you refer me every time you speak to someone?" Like that. It's not like that. It's about, how can I help you? What are you interested in? Is it content? Is it getting in front of my audience? Is it doing a video somewhere? Let's do that. And then hopefully the karma is that naturally people will think of you when an opportunity comes up, and that's how a relationship works. So I don't know if that answers that question, but a new partnership manager, it's about what's important to your partners, actually.
So it's all about creating relationships.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if it's complementary to something your customers already, it's a company that your customer's already working with, then it's a bonus. So this ties back to a thing. So years and years ago, I attended the Communicators Ideal Customer Persona workshop. And honestly, Jess, it was one of the best workshops I've been in, because it really inspired me, because I went home and I created the chart that you had. And you gave away this kind of booklet to kind of take home with. It to the point where we've got a calendar invite that recurs every 3 months, every quarter, where we kind of keep looking at the customer persona.
Oh, nice.
So one of the things, I think it was like, what are they spending their time on? What are the problems that you're solving for them?
Yeah, challenges.
I'll show you the actual chart once.
Yeah, that would be good.
Because we don't want to give away too much ourselves, obviously. So it just basically said, what are the things that are keeping them awake at night? So I guess going back to what, would the first thing, if you're a SaaS company and they're trying to start a partnership scheme or team or person, a manager, would it just literally be about looking at your customer and what else they're buying in terms of, let's say, you're a analytics company and you can see your customer 9 out of 10 times they're also investing money into paid SEO or PPC. Would it just be literally about charting that and then just going and talking to the existing companies that your customers are already buying? Or how, would that be like a no-brainer, I guess?
I mean, it's like, so
Take that one.
It's one of these things that, it's kind of that. So if we've got like 12 different products, anything from email marketing to CRM to website personalization. Yeah. So it depends on what we're talking about. Let's just say email marketing. Someone purchases that and that is a client of ours. What do you need to be successful in email marketing? You need great content. You need a website to be pointed to. The website needs to be optimized. You need video content on the website to make it sticky. So there's so many things that, so many different businesses you could partner up with that will complement, make your client successful, and then they're going to be sticky with you. They're going to actually not churn and be with you long term. So yeah, it's about seeing what else could help your client be successful with you, find those companies and partner with them.
Yeah.
Perfect. Jess, what is keeping you awake at night with marketing? Not personal stuff. What are the kind of things that every marketing manager is worried about right now?
I think what's next. I think like what's coming. There's more changes happening to legislation. There's the iOS stuff coming out now. We've got a webinar on it actually coming up in December. Yeah, I just think how to keep on top of it, how to, sales are hungry, customer account managers are hungry. They want to, so it's a constant battle of how are we going to do this?
And like for anyone listening who maybe is getting overwhelmed, because I know, we had a guest on a few days ago where she spoke about mental health in, the world of marketing, because you're being pulled at different directions. What advice would you give to someone who's feeling overwhelmed?
I mean, I'm not a mental health expert, so don't take it Bible, but I think just as long as you know your shit, if I can swear, have your evidence, make sure you know what's working and what isn't, make sure you know what your budget is, keep your team updated, just, checking in on everybody every now and then. So, and make time for yourself as well.
Just to add to that, I would almost say that once you've done that, you need to go and do something that's nothing to do with work. Like we got kids, so that can be chaotic and that could be chaos.
They're not married, but
no, not together.
No. But we've both got kids, and actually that's kind of chaotic as well for a different reason. But what I do is I like reading. Well, I liked reading before I had kids, and I can't do that so much anymore. But I now listen to my book as well. So I have a Kindle that reads, but then I listen to it through Audible. And I listen to it as my my commute to work, which is, waking up, because of remote working as well. You always have to have that commute to work, whatever that is. And for me, that's listening to a chapter. And that just makes you forget about everything else for a minute.
Yeah.
What do you do to relax and take...
Relax? What's that?
Because you've got kids as well.
I have. I've got 2 very young children, so it's mad. Have a hobby. So I do yoga and things like that, which is, just get out in nature, take the dog for a walk if you have a dog. If you don't, still go out for a walk, just clear your head. But with permission first. Just clear your head and step away and then come back to it. If you're feeling overwhelmed, I think it's, don't act on impulse, because that's when you could really get into trouble.
Yeah, because, because so much of our lives, especially in the world of marketing, it is planned out. And I personally think it's nice to have a balance, things which is very, very different. The other day I went to a perfume making workshop.
Oh.
And it was the first time you actually got to work with your hands, hold something tangible.
Yeah.
And the people I was doing this course with, they were just like, just regular kind of everyday people. Whereas me, I was just like, I'd been staring at my screen the whole week, working, and delivering. We created this 3D animation video, and it was like, it's amazing, but we didn't actually get to see the thing. It was all built, whereas actually holding something and touching something, and it was kind of tactile then. Reassuring. Going into a tangent here, but next thing, and we want to get into the rapid fire questions after, quick questions after. For both of you, I guess, what has been the biggest things that have changed over the years? Because you've both been with Spotler communicating for a long time.
Yeah.
And, the general trend is people stay within the company for 2 years and move on. So I guess, one, it says something about the company. It's doing really well.
Yeah.
And it's kind of keeping good people within the company. But over the years, what have been some of the biggest changes that you've seen in both partnership and marketing? I guess, Richard, you could go first.
Yeah. So the partnership element of it started about 12 months ago, in terms of we've had partners for like 15 years or whatever, but the actual focus on it. So the change has been massive. It's gone from not having something that's sort of focused and, in a direction, to kind of being a little bit sort of reactive. So now we're being proactive. So that's the difference. We now have a program that I've developed where, with the help of Jess, where, someone becomes a partner, they get given access to our software. There's now training and programs and, all sorts of things that they can go through in order to get up to scratch. And then, being introduced to Jess and the other marketing team to do, marketing activities, podcasts, webinars, blogs, whatever they want to do. And so it's gone from like kind of not doing that or being a bit reactive about it to now it's like a streamlined, come and work with us. We can hopefully help each other, kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right. And Jess?
I think in terms of marketing, as I said earlier, I think it's the way that we report and things like that. I think it used to be about open rates and everything was always about open rates, and it's not about that anymore at all. I mean, yes, clicks, we want to get people back to the website, but it's so much more. It's, like I said, further down the funnel and the retention of it all and the acquisition and stuff. So I think, in terms of reporting and things like that, it's...
I mean, I think that was a too easy question for you. So what about the next 8 years? What do you think we'll see in the future?
Well, I think, I hate to bang on about it, but I think AI is coming, and it's already here, isn't it? So
it's not going to go away.
It's not. And I think it's, taking the industry by storm. So who knows what is going to come out of that. But I think if I look back 8 years ago, what our email marketing was doing, for instance, we weren't able to do half the stuff we're doing now with, like Richard said, about all of our different products and our personalisation and really segmenting our audience and targeting people with what they want that's relevant to them. So I think what's going to happen in the next 8 years, who knows? But let's stick around and see.
You'll just have to come back in 8 years' time.
Yes.
Look at this video. So going into more non-marketing related quick questions. These are rapid fire questions. So what are 3 must-read books? So Richard first.
Oh my God.
What are the last 3 books you listened to on your Audible?
They're nothing to do with like related marketing, I'm afraid. So you've put me on the spot now.
Mm-hmm.
What is the book I'm reading now? So I've started the Wheel of Time series because of the Amazon thing, and it was quite good, but I'm actually at book 10 or something like that, and I'm like quite exhausted from it now, if I'm honest. So there's that. What else have I been reading? I quite like the sort of the sci-fi fantasy sort of things, and I literally cannot think of the title of it now, but it's a really famous book. It's The 3-Body Problem.
Oh, okay.
Have you heard of that?
I've heard of this, but I've not.
Oh my God, it's weird, but it's quite good. But it's actually a Chinese written book from a long time ago that's been translated. So it's very sort of like, I want to say it's not like manga, but it's like, you know how that sort of, they go quite sci-fi, don't they? It's real quite kind of extreme is the word. It's kind of like that, and it's like, whoa. So there's that, and I can't think of a third book, I'm afraid. Sorry.
That's fine. Jess?
Well, I'm going to reference Seth Godin because he, obviously, I think The Purple Cow was probably the first marketing book I ever read. Yeah, it's good. And I actually was lucky enough to work with him last year. We did a webinar together, so I felt like that was, really highlighting my career. So that was good. But non-marketing related, I just read Gillian McAllister, How to Disappear, and that was just on the edge of your seat. I would recommend that. It's a really, really good read. And
one more. It could be marketing, it could be anything that's inspired.
Well, like you said, it's mainly kids' books nowadays, isn't it? So,
The Whale and the Snail.
I like, what's his name? Harley Coben, is that his name? And he's
Harlan Coben, I think.
That's it, Harlan Coben, yeah. He's done a few Netflix series now. I've read a couple of his books over the summer.
Yeah, he has got this Netflix series, and I watched one of them, and I think after 3 episodes, I stopped. I don't know why. I should go back into it.
Yeah.
The thing is, a lot of our guests, you would know, have been, they don't have kids. Mm-hmm. So, like having kids really, really limits your time to be able to do anything. So let that be a lesson to you all.
Don't have kids.
Podcasts, do you guys listen to podcasts? What are some, you can name one each if you like. Mm-hmm. What are some podcasts that you can really tune into on a weekly basis?
There's a good marketing one which is called The Nudge, which I think is good, and that's about like behavioural and science in marketing. So that's always really good. Should we reference Interesting Contents podcast? Has some great guests on.
Amazing guests. I think. What about you, Rich?
Do you know what? I actually don't get to listen to many podcasts, I'm afraid. I burn through about 5 books a month, and I'm just addicted to books. So I'm in the morning it is books for me, actually. All their podcasts are interesting. For a lot of me, it's books. So
it's still like in the world of audio.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But it is a chapter or stuff like that. I like magazines. So as I was saying at the office, it's kind of actually I pick up stuff.
Like physical, yeah. A good one is bit of a guilty pleasure here, but Vogue and Spencer Matthews. So they're married. They have a joint podcast. Some people might not know who they are, but
I do know.
It's just really lighthearted. He just doesn't take himself seriously, but there's also an element of he's done really well for himself. So there's like an entrepreneurship
These are
element as well, which is
Spencer's
good.
the person from Made in Chelsea.
Yeah, he
something
started
like
off
that.
on. I think they're quite a well-off family in their own right, because I think his brother is married to Kate Middleton's sister,
Oh, okay.
and they, yeah, but yeah, no, it's really good. He's started a non-alcoholic brand drink, so and that's just gone. Yeah, he's done really well with it, so it's nice to hear.
You know what I like about these things? It's a story that
Mm.
kind of get hooked in. So a few years ago, there was an office that we had. We were in Soho, and someone from Made in Chelsea was actually there. And I was just having a conversation with someone who was there, and then my colleague came and she said, "Do you know who that is? You know, who?" She's a
Fangirling.
normal guy. And she said, "Oh, it's someone from Made in Chelsea." I was like, "Oh," because I'd never seen any of these episodes, and I just talked to him like a normal person.
Yeah.
I was making jokes with him, but he could tell that I didn't recognize him. Whereas my colleague, she was there. How did you know him? She's so excited. I can't even remember his name. It's a blonde guy. But yeah, it's really nice. He's the person behind the Sweet Candy.
Yeah, Jamie.
Jamie,
Candy Kittens, isn't it?
Yeah, this one.
I'm going to stop now because I sound like an avid fan and I'm embarrassing myself.
Guilty pleasures.
Yeah.
What are 3 SaaS tools that you cannot live without?
So we use Asana in marketing, which is obviously our team is global. So we have cousins in the Netherlands, which is really good. So Asana helps us to keep on track of all the different projects that's going on, who it's with, what stage it's at, and things like that. So that's definitely one of them. We can't say Spotler.
Go on.
It's got to be Spotler.
So the tools that I use that aren't Spotler stuff is that we use something called Jiminy, and that is for when you're having a meeting.
Yeah.
It's a transcript thing. It's sort
Yeah.
of, but it's not just it. Records it and does the video. You can actually help yourself by adding keywords, and therefore when you're watching it back, you can go straight to when that word has been said and stuff like that. So if there's an hour-long video, you don't want to watch an hour-long video again to get some of the information of what their needs or requirements are, because you need to be listening to them, don't you? You're not writing things down. So you need to go back. So that's Jiminy. And I have to say, for me, it's LinkedIn Navigator, if you can call that MarTech, but I guess
Yeah.
it is, because it shows me about what the company's interests are. So you go and research a company, what they're doing, what their blogs are or whatever, what their current focus is.
Gives you information at your fingertips. Jess, you can say one Spotler tool if you'd like.
Well, we use it all day, every day. So we use the email platform, we use Spotler Leads. I guess we should say our CRM maybe then,
Yeah,
if we can't
So
say.
Spotler's own CRM.
We've just acquired one.
Just
so,
acquired
yeah.
our CRM, yeah.
What is this the acquisition that you?
No, that's another one.
Different one.
How many? Are you buying every company?
I know,
Am I-
they're on a roll.
It's not that. It's that rather than reinventing the wheel,
Mm.
there are companies out there that do a really good job of CRM or of something like that. And we're not trying to be Salesforce here or something like that. It's not that type of CRM.
No.
It's a simple CRM for people who are fed up with not being able to do reports because Salesforce is doing the heading.
Mm.
And it's a really simple CRM. It's as simple as that. But yeah.
So you actually use your own tools in house.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I use my own campaigns. It's on Communicator. It will soon be Email Plus, which is the new platform. And so yeah, we use it ourselves, definitely.
So final words. I know you mentioned Seth Godin and you'd mentioned a few other people before when we spoke.
Yeah.
Who are some people that you follow for inspiration or for when you need some new ideas or when you're kind of thinking, I need to get out of my head?
I think there's quite a lot on my
Yes, I'm trying to think of
LinkedIn.
one.
There's a lot of like founders and CEOs and things like that I like to follow, just because they've been through it all, haven't they? I mean, you can vouch for yourself. So yeah, I don't think there's one person in particular that stands out, but there's and any other like influential women as well who've got to empower other women, I think is good. So
Any people that come to mind?
So I do follow, is it Unilad?
Yes.
The founder of that. And he's really down to earth, and he talks a lot about mental health and the struggles that he's been through and stuff. So
I tried to. I think I messaged him because I saw a tweet that he posted and it really resonated with me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was quite like, it wasn't a tweet from me, it was just like a really nice detailed post about how he went from, he was, the struggle of how he got Unilad to where he got to.
Yeah.
And I think the acquisition or they sold the company. So that was a really interesting one. I did write to him to say, I never write, I'm usually the person who kind of reads and then just says, oh, like, great. But it actually kind of
made you reach out. Yeah.
to him. He never wrote back. So, if he's watching.
Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't take info from him then.
It's gone to spam.
Yeah. Wow, you need to.
Maybe I should not have had a subject line so he could have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been trying to think. I follow companies a lot of the time. So a lot of my feed is actually a load of different companies rather than an individual. And the ones that stand out to me are ones that are actually not talking about themselves, really oddly. So I genuinely couldn't mention a single person, but there'd be people that, like, there's this company called 3EN, for example, and a bit random here, but something to do with one of our NetSuite sort of partnerships. But like they are having a picture of like their first office, like it was about work, but it was actually nothing to do with NetSuite, say, and they were like taking pictures of, this is the the building that used to be, and it's just their thing was all about the brand, I guess, rather than anything to do with what they did. You'd have no idea what they did by that post.
Yeah.
But they keep popping up because I keep looking at it clearly. But it's really interesting because it's nothing to do with them or their product, should I say?
I mean, I guess we're kind of addicted, or we love stories.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be about one specific feature. It could be just how it all came about. So I'm a sucker for these things as well.
Yeah. It's a bit more personable, isn't it?
It is, and it's something you can actually relate to.
Yeah.
Rather than everyone's been in a company, or everyone's kind of started somewhere. You're like, okay, so this is where they started, or whatever that may be. Whereas it's hard to identify with someone, or kind of resonate, or connect with someone who's like, oh, this is a feature we've brought out, and it's going to make your load up time 70% faster. You're like, oh, great, that's amazing. Doesn't make a difference for me. Final words. So a lot of our listeners and people who are watching, hello, you're beautiful people. What advice or what final words would you give to them? Because usually they're working in marketing. If sometimes we have a lot of people who are just starting off in marketing, or people who kind of been in marketing for a while.
Okay.
What advice would you give them?
Find a different career. No, I'm joking. I said it earlier, just have your evidence, know your results, know what's working, what isn't, keep your team informed, make sure you all are on the same page, different departments, so sales, partners, account managers, make sure you're all working together. And just know your reporting, and know your numbers, know your figures, know where your new sales are coming from.
Perfect.
And I would say, stop talking about your product, stop talking about your features and your benefits, stop talking about any of that. Just what do you solve, and how do you tell someone that, in a conversation, like a chat like this, how do you go about and say, in a human to human sort of reaction, by the way, that problem you have, this is what we do.
Yeah.
That's how you need to have the message. It can't be marketing, it can't be salesy. It needs to be like a human to human problem solving message.
So fix someone's problem, and
what's the solution that you're fixing? Don't worry about your product and stuff like that. What are you going to help them with?
Yeah, people need solutions, right? We all have challenges and objections and stuff. So, if you're solving that.
It's just like if someone comes to me and says, that problem that's keeping you awake at night, I can solve it for you. You've got my interest.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You've got my interest. So on that note, how can people get hold of you if they wanted to find out more, or maybe if they're running a SaaS company and they wanted you to buy them, which will probably happen at the rate you're going.
Speak to Suds, and he'll put you in touch with myself.
Yeah. LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is probably the best way. So Jessica Brick and Richard Mellis.
Yep.
We will have links to your bios on the show notes at some point. So thank you so much for joining us. And we are off to a lovely lunch.
Yeah.
A partnership lunch, which we're going to afterwards. So I'm really much looking forward to that. Thank you again for coming in. And I know it's cold outside and the trains suck today. So I'm looking forward to spending a few more hours with you.
Yeah.
Thank you again for watching, and we will see you at the next one.